independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
1 in a million essentially developing these sorts of blood clotting problems. If you were just to compare that to the likelihood of death, and this is in the same age group, 18 to 49-year-olds, the risk of death if you develop COVID-19 is closer to 1,800 in a million. So clearly getting the vaccine, no matter how you look at it, is going to be much better overall for preventing death versus, getting COVID. Finding these safety signals is of such high priority that maybe it gives people reassurance that they're finding even 1 in a million type safety concerns.
Yeah. Interesting, right? So Johnson & Johnson, I thought the reaction was rather quick and a bit too much. It's gathered the facts, the data, but it could be dangerous. It could be. Everything's dangerous, by the way. I mean, you start going through, and have you guys never watched a pharmacy commercial? Have you guys never watched, somebody out there peddling their drugs? Get such and such. Whatever they call it, Planoquin or whatever. And it helps you with, not having sweaty palms and itchy teeth. And they start walking you through all the things it does. And then it tells you all the things that can go wrong. Well, you may have itchy teeth. Your teeth may also fall out. Your hands may disappear altogether. You may grow hair on your hands. Your eyebrows may turn different colors. And then they start working explosive diarrhea, blood clots, In certain rare instances, it may result in, instantaneous death. They walk you through those things. We never really had that. Like Johnson & Johnson's not on TV, going, hey, get our vaccine, right? Because it's essentially they're all printing money right now. Government's paying for everything. Everybody's printing money. So they're making hay while the hay is good. So they're not on TV going, hey, when you guys go get, you don't see that, like the flu shot. You don't see that. It's like, you don't see that like when you go get your flu shot, there's no instances where they're on TV saying you should really take this for the flu. You don't get any of that. So there's that worry, right? Oh, my God, because we're not seeing it. We don't even know if this is because of the vaccine, right? So we have no idea. How many of them are there? How many? Almost 7 million vaccines. How many?
6 cases right now of these incredibly rare blood clots in the brain associated with low platelets, which also increases the bleeding risk, and almost 7 million doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine given thus far in the United States. That divides out to a risk of less than 1 in 1 million doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So there's a saying in medicine, an increased risk of a rare event is still a rare event.
Yeah. And if we're going to go, if we're at the point now where, and this is, I understand if there was 50,000, you'd be like, whoa, hold on a second, a little pause here. Right? We're talking about, I'm going to break it down for you guys. Okay, you guys sitting down? 0.0000083 and some change. That's the percent. 6 zeros and 3 and some change. Right around there. So, before the point would be the 1%. We've moved well beyond that. And we don't even know if these things are related. That's, to me, it feels like a reactionary move that will scare some people. We're already dealing in situations right now where people are hesitant to get the vaccine for whatever reason. And because of that, people are looking around and saying, well, now I'm thinking no. I'm thinking I'm going to give it a while. I think I'm going to step away and say I'm going to give this far more time because this is new. It's not new. The technology, we think it's new. But it's still because we didn't have the coronavirus. The technology they use, same thing for Moderna and Pfizer, the mRNA, it's not new. They've been using that for years with cancer and other things. The technology, it's just a different thing inside of the technology they're using. So none of this stuff is like we think they just invented all of this stuff. It's not. Like if you see a new Tesla, that's not a new idea. It's a revolutionary idea done on the fact that already revolutionary things have been done inside of the industry to build something like that. They've just added on to it. But the hesitancy thing is very real.
What do you think this might mean for vaccine hesitancy?
Yeah, what I keep saying is that this should give you some confidence that the vaccines like Moderna and Pfizer, getting tens of millions of doses out there, have not had these sort of even 1 in a million sort of safety concerns. So hopefully that actually builds your confidence, at least around those two. But I'm not so naive as to think, Jake, that even with the 1 in a million with the J&J concern, that it may fuel some vaccine hesitancy. We saw that with AstraZeneca in Europe. Only 20% of people are willing to take the AstraZeneca vaccine. So there will be some vaccine hesitancy, I think, as a result of this.
Yeah, of course there is. I heard it yesterday. Told you guys. It didn't tell me anything. Everything in life comes with a risk, right? You get up in the morning, right? You're going to take a shower. How many people die every year because of falls inside their home? That's a risk. When you start to look at things, life is a risk. So everybody just take a step back. If I was them, I would not have pulled back. I would have monitored it for sure, but I would have first went and find out everything I could about the 6 women that are premenopausal is what we've been told. And there's a very slight risk, even in that have had issues. And we're not quite sure it is related specifically to this before I went and said, let's pause this. Because even now, when you're going to go and say, Friday, say we're going to resume it again, you caused a lot of worry when there didn't need to be any. You caused a lot of potential panic when you didn't need to do that. The reality is it's not going anywhere.
We'll be back to vaccinating people with J&J soon.
Dr. Shah, absolutely, 100%. Back to doing it soon. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you guys. I'm telling you guys right now, you're watching Minnesota and you're watching Minneapolis and the Brooklyn Center, but it's about 2 miles plus away from where George Floyd and the incident took place with Derek Chauvin, where he was killed, and Chauvin currently standing trial. We'll touch on that a little bit later. But overnight, once again, more issues, more riots. Yesterday, the police officer in question, she resigned. She was a training officer, so she had a rookie with her. She was training. She was in the field. She was training. A lot of officers I've talked to said should never have happened. You keep your gun on your strong hand side, right? So your dominant side is where you keep your gun. So dominant side is where you keep your gun. Should have known. Split-second reaction. Possibility of something happening. Yeah, I mean, we're human beings. I mean, that's just it. I think we look at police and we see them and we think to ourselves, well, they're robots. They're mindless. For some people, they look at them as mindless, racist, killing machines. Other people look at them as infallible perfection. You know what they are? They're human beings. That's it. But overnight, more protests, more issues, more arrest. This isn't helping. It isn't. It's not helping at all. Will there be charges? The possibility is real. Will it be murder? No, probably. I talked to a legal expert, Monica Lindstrom, yesterday before she went on the old court TV to talk about this. She told me probably manslaughter at best. But this investigation will take much longer, and they are going to dig deep into her past. But she's a training officer, so obviously they trust her enough in that to allow her to train people. So this will be very interesting. But you go and you look back and you see all the things that have happened and how this is growing in a lot of different ways, and how the media in many cases, I think, are out there just continually pushing the crap over and over and over again. And with instantaneous gratification and anger that can be hurled out there on all the social medias, it doesn't help. It doesn't. The question is, where do we go from here? The question is, how do we move from point A to point B? Is there going to be justice? what does justice look like? So that was the question I was asking. What does justice look like to you? What does justice look like to somebody? Is it monetary? Is it behind bars? Are there instances where people do make mistakes, or is it nope, everything that is done with malice, racism, and hatred? That's what people need to ask themselves. What does justice look like? But overnight, I'm telling you guys, once again, it's not a good look when people are out there destroying people who've worked hard, who've built up businesses, who are rioting and angry. The anger that continues to flare up also puts pressure on the case that's going on with Derek Chauvin right now. And those jurors, they're not sequestered, and they're seeing what's going on. They saw what took place, and to think that that's not weighing on their mind is also something that the defense is going to use, especially if he's convicted of something. Saying, you know what, Your Honor? Look what's going on outside. They weren't sequestered. They see what's happening. There's a fear factor that the city may be in serious trouble if they don't convict. There's no way for him to get a fair trial. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. We got some good stuff today, including in a minute, and we're going to listen to it together. It's a post-pandemic song from Mick Jagger. Oh, my Lord. I'm telling you guys. He's great. He's a genius, but sometimes people do stuff and you think, that's interesting. Speaking of interesting, Masterclass. You guys don't know what it is. I do Masterclass. I love it. And it's funny because imagine learning from the best in the world, the best in their craft, whether it's cooking, whether it's poker, tennis, comedy, voiceovers. Yeah, voiceovers. It's great because I sit here and I love watching all those. Yesterday I was watching one with Samuel L. Jackson, and it was about feedback on Masterclass. And because feedback's so important. I don't think people realize that. And he talked about feedback, and he's like, yeah, you know what? The way I've always looked at it is if I go do something and nobody tells me to do anything different, then it means I've done something good. So you start worrying about it when they tell you do something different. And I'm like, that's really amazing, because I think so many people want affirmation quickly. But there's a little something that goes in there. These classes are amazing. Nancy Cartwright's voiceover class, when it comes to, how she became Bart Simpson, all the things, is incredible. And this is coming from a guy who's done a ton of voice work with people like Nancy and a lot of other people. It's awesome. 20 lessons per class, 10 minutes per lesson. I'm telling you guys right now, it is so worth it. It's like 40 cents a day to learn from the legends and the people that actually do it, not the people that talk about how to do it. Join today, save an extra 15%, right? It's the annual membership, super cheap. Like I said, about 41 cents a day. It's Masterclass. Go to masterclass.com/Benson. Save that 50%. Masterclass.com/Benson. Masterclass.com/Benson. Chad Benson Show.
If you like talk radio like Chad Benson likes his meals, you've come to the perfect place for takeout.
The Washington County attorney says he expects to share details on his decision on Kim Potter sometime Wednesday. It follows Potter's resignation from the Brooklyn Center Police Force, which she served on for 26 years. She writes, I believe it is in the best interest of the community, the department, and my fellow officers if I resign immediately. The police chief in Brooklyn Center also stepping down. An acting head of the department put in place amidst outrage and unrest.
Yeah. So Kim Potter, again, she was a training officer that pulled the trigger, said she mistakenly thought it was a taser. You can hear her scream, taser, taser, taser. And then she says, holy blank, I shot him. She resigned. Will there be charges? I think that's what they're going to look into. And this is a little bit different because you had a lot of different things going into this. When it comes to they rendered aid as fast as they could. You can hear her yelling, taser, taser, taser. You can tell by the inflection of the voice that it feels like there is, this was not intentional, but I don't know what her intentions were or weren't. And they're going to look deeper into her background. Does she have a history of certain things like this? Probably not if she's a trainer. And if she does, and she's a trainer, what's that say about the department itself? So while Dante Wright's family waits, and right now Minnesota's already on edge, Minneapolis in particular, and Brooklyn Center and around there because of the Floyd case, it'll be interesting to see how long it takes. Are they going to rush something? Or as I like to say, let's measure twice and then we're going to cut once. Because too often in life, people want to cut immediately. We're just going to go by look. Could you imagine that if they were going to hang windows in your house and everybody's like, we're just going to go by look and then we're going to cut? No, let's do it twice. Let's get it right. It's not about getting it done to appease the people that are outside and pissed, the internet mob. It's about doing it right. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. It is a song by one of the greats of rock and roll. It's a post-pandemic-y song, Dave Grohl and Mick Jagger. You guys ready? Are you?
Yeah, think I put on weight. I'll have another drink and I'll clean the kitchen sink. We'll escape from this prison walls. Open the windows and open the doors. But it's easy, easy. Everything's gonna get really crazy.
Yeah. So he bemoans life under lockdown. He mocks anti-vaxxers. He and Dave Grohl put this together. It's very interesting. Look, lockdown sucks, and for some people it continues to suck. Anti-vaxxers, people have their own reasons. I've never, my whole thing with vaccination is that life should be about a choice, right? Everybody wants choice. That's one of the choices you choose. That's fine. Understand the risk. And, again, everybody's got a song. Wait till you hear ours. Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
People should hear this headline and be reassured that our safety system of checks and balances works. It works promptly and swiftly, and no chances will be taken as they investigate whether or not there is an actual link between the vaccine and this rare case of blood clots.
Yeah, rare case. Again, let's go over the numbers. So start at 100, right? So you got 100. And then you go down to like 99.5%, right? So 99, and then it's a 0.5. So it's like a half a percentage point. I'm just giving you guys an idea. So let's remove that 5 and let's put a point. So we got a 0, and then we're starting at a point. So it's okay. So it's point, and then we go 0. So it's less than 1/10 of 1%. Then we're going to go 0 again. Oh, wow, wow. Then we're going to go 0 again, 0 again, 0 again, 0 again. Then we're going to go 8, 3, and some change. You're like, ooh. But if you are worried, and it's understandable. It's understandable. Because when you go get a shot like this, when you go get the flu shot, you never ask them. They may say, you may feel a little lethargic or something like that. You're not asking them. It's like, what are the side effects? Am I going to have explosive diarrhea? The only side effects that people have joked about when it comes to something like this is the fact that, you're going to grow a tail, or you're going to put a microchip in there, and you're going to have to be a farmer for Bill Gates while they track you, and you're probably going to have to end up working for him. That's the kind of stuff that people have talked about. But in reality, what should you watch for? What should you be worried for?
If you got the vaccine more than 3 weeks ago and you're feeling fine, you really have an extremely low risk and don't need to be concerned. But if you got it more recently, keep an eye out for a severe headache that doesn't go away, bad stomach pain that doesn't go away, difficulty breathing, which is always a sign to let your doctor know or seek medical attention, and possibly swelling and pain in a leg.
There you go. That's what you look for. But they're looking at like 8 to 16 days. Anything after that, I think you're going to be okay. I think it'll be back soon. And we don't even know if any of these Johnson & Johnson, the people that have had these blood clots, mostly premenopausal women have gotten these things because of this. It's precaution. And it's great that we take precaution. People say, this is good. We are the gold standard when it comes to vetting things like this. If you get past us, I talked yesterday to Dr. Carmona. He's the former Surgeon General of the United States of America. And I said, we're the gold standard. So absolutely. You get past us, basically the rest of the world's like, if they got past America and all of their checks and balances, this is good to go. We'll be fine. This thing will be back soon. And one of the reasons I still contend it's a game changer is the fact that it's a one and done. And we live in a world where convenience matters more than anything. You know that. I know that. We like convenience. And going somewhere twice could be inconvenient. Unless we want to go there. Right? You like your Starbucks? Going there twice is okay. But I tell you what. You know what? It's not okay. Like here's a perfect example of how inconvenient things are. We go next door. Usually, I try to support our little local businesses, and we've got a little veranda bistro next door to us here in these buildings. And it's like they're office buildings. And downstairs, they got this little cafe. I love the cafe. They make great food. Teresa's the owner. She's hilarious and she's funny. But this hit her hard, and I say, you know what? I keep my money here. Right. And I'll go and, I buy off, lunch for the office and I try to do things to make sure that I'm always down there at least once a day, whether I'm just buying a couple iced teas or whatever. It's important, right? It's important. But sometimes they're like, oh man, they forgot to give us cookies. Yeah, I don't feel like walking down there. It's a walk. You paid for it. Call them up. Hey, you forgot to give us cookies. We'll pick them up tomorrow. Convenience is huge. Now, if you want to bring it to us, it's great. But if we didn't live in a convenient world, we wouldn't have apps. And we sure wouldn't have delivery when it comes to food and Amazon. Amazon shows you everything you need to know about convenience. Convenience. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Do love hearing from every single one of you. So I'm going to talk about this, right? Because I approach life in a much different way than I think a lot of other people, especially people in my business. A lot of people in my business, they scream and yell and we joke sometimes about some of that crazy hate radio and anger radio, and that's just not who we are here. But one thing that I talk about when we talk about the Civil War, when we talk about the disdain on both sides is big tech has, to me, way too much power. And the power that they've exercised over and over again is, it seems at times, at best, absolutely arbitrary. Mostly leans to the left when it comes to, and the funny thing is, conservatives have thrived in social media despite all of that. Right, despite all of the chaos and the craziness and the feeling like that they get punished. And part of the reasons it feels that way is because when there is a judgment that tends to come down, it lands against the side of somebody who's got a conservative viewpoint. Steven Crowder this past week was once again taken into a situation where he's off YouTube. And by the way, we have talked about this. CNN, MSNBC, even Fox wishes they had audiences at times like Steven Crowder. Their competition anymore isn't with each other. It's with the YouTubes. It's with the Crowders. It's with a lot of these other people who are building up vast audiences that are loyal. And one of the things that they do is, they have opinions. They don't shy away and try to pretend to be journalists. They're very open about things, but they're also entertaining. Trump was the reason people watched. Your reaction to Trump. Once the interesting went away, you found out you guys weren't interesting. Wolf, you're not interesting. Jake Tapper, you're not interesting. Cuomo, you're not interesting. What? Hannity's been the same, and Tucker, at least there's somebody to the left to hate. Laura Ingraham, did anybody talk about her anymore? One American News? Newsmax? No. The interesting went away. Crowder, on the other hand, is funny. Takes on all kinds of things. But he gets censored a lot because YouTube finds a lot of his stuff offensive or misleading or lies when not really saying whether or not they're lies, just because that's what they decide.
Have you heard of Steven Crowder? He now has the largest independent news channel on YouTube. His viewers like his politically incorrect jokes.
Every time someone joins Mug Club, Muhammad gets accosted in hell, as an angel gets its wings.
He also goes to college campuses and debates students unedited.
Saying that somebody using improper pronouns is an act of violence against someone, I just disagree.
This video alone got 40 million views.
40 million views. Think about that for a second. 40 million views. He crushed the CNNs, MSNBCs, and Foxes on election night. If you go look at his numbers on election night for his stream, ridiculous. Ridiculous. But he's always fighting with YouTube.
And sometimes Crowder does investigative journalism.
Accumulated voter data from government websites, okay? We checked if the addresses were deliverable.
He discovered that some Nevada voters listed fake addresses. Recently, YouTube's been censoring Crowder, deleting some videos, and denying Crowder advertising money. You got demonetized. What's that mean?
Means I can make $0 on YouTube.
Why did YouTube restrict him? Partly because he revealed those fake addresses. I call that good reporting.
Yeah. Look, was he's still talking about the election, and he went to places where on the database provided by people who had voted in places like Nevada, they were parking lots. There was nothing there. Okay. Good reporting. Does it mean that it's 100,000 people? No. But he didn't do anything wrong. That wasn't a lie. Like if I put, 123 Main Street, USA, America, and give something, and I register me to vote, and I vote, and then somebody says, well, Chad shouldn't have voted because that's not even his address, and somebody says, well, we're going to have to shut you down for saying that. They didn't say a lie if I did that. That's the frustration that people have. And it's not just about this. There's a lot of things that YouTube has done and that big media has done over the last several years that has a lot of people frustrated.
We went to the fake addresses. All of our sources are always available publicly every day. We list them. We have a link in the description on YouTube.
YouTube removed his videos, calling it a violation of their policies.
You cannot say that voter fraud affected the outcome of the 2020 election or that Donald Trump won the election. I think someone should be able to say that lizard people stole the election. I think people should be able to say whatever they want.
YouTube never disputed the accuracy of Crowder's report. They just deleted it.
Yeah. And by the way, I agree. I think people should be able to dispute and say whatever it is that they want. Why do you, big tech, get to be the arbiter of speech? Right? Now, granted, we're using your platform, but you're also using us. Because remember, without individuals, without us, there is no you and selling data and monetizing our whatever it is that we're doing, whether it's YouTube or Facebook. So without us, it's a give and take. And I said a couple years ago when they went after the flat earthers, this is going to be scary. Because it's kind of like a test, right? It's a test. It's a test. They're going after flat earthers. Who does that hurt, right? If you believe the earth is flat, why shouldn't I have the right to hear that? Why shouldn't I have the right to hear whether or not the earth is flat from somebody? I'm just curious. If that's your belief system, why shouldn't I have the right to believe that you have the right to say that and listen to it? I don't have to agree with you, but you don't need to shelter people. You don't need to shelter them. And that's the thing that drives me crazy. And the other thing that drives me crazy is some of the stuff, because, when you post a thing on YouTube, it's like, is this child friendly? Well, he points out something great. We've talked about it.
Crowder points out that YouTube's inconsistent about what they censor.
Lil Nas X is being sodomized by Satan, and not only is that monetized, but it's deemed child-friendly.
That video is still up on YouTube, while YouTube gives Lil Nas X wide distribution. It restricts conservative and libertarian commentary.
Why? What's their motivation?
I think there's an ideological motivation beyond a profit motivation at this point.
Yeah, 110%. 110%. You know it, I know it, we all know it. And the frustration level is, I think most of us, and again, he's done a lot of stuff that drives people crazy, and he does that because that's part of what you do. You push people to the edge in certain situations, and the left does it all the time with comedy. And when the right does it, it's bad, it's evil, it's racist, it's homophobic, it's all of these things. It is frustrating. It is. And all I want is consistency. Right? Isn't that what anybody wants? Like, if you're a parent and you're inconsistent with the way you parent, that's not good. Consistency is what people want. Let us know what the rules are. But the rules always seem to change. And it is frustrating. And when you talk about the battle that's going on out there, but it talks about the Civil War. The Civil War is taking place in culture. That's where the battle's at. But when you have big tech and big things that can control things, why shouldn't I be allowed to hear if somebody thinks that the election was stolen, that the earth was flat, right? Why shouldn't I? Why shouldn't I be allowed to hear about lizard people that may or may not come from another world or dimension that runs the world? Doesn't mean I have to believe it. You shouldn't take people's voice away and the opportunity for other people to hear. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens. You know, one of the things AMAC does is they're out there fighting hard on your behalf, going to both sides of the aisle out there in D.C. and saying, look, this kind of cancel culture, big tech control, this stuff needs to stop. We can't have that. Freedom of speech, First and Second Amendment, things like that. Those things matter. Fighting hard for you to make sure Social Security, Medicare are out there and they're solvent and they're not going anywhere because you paid in, you work for them, you deserve it. Those are the things that they're doing. On top of that, they're offering great discounts on retail, restaurant, hotel, everything. It's the fastest growing organization for people over the age of 50. You can join today. It's pennies day. It's like $16 a year to join. Join today. Get the great benefits. Know that people are out there fighting on your behalf for amazing things like common sense immigration reform. Go to amac.us/Chad, amac.us/Chad, amac.us/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
You stink like fear and white male privilege to me.
I do often out myself verbally as a gender. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm proud to be a gender.
Are you stupid?
Stop!
Are you kidding me?
Not a great way to use your white privilege.
Some people get it, some people don't.
You're listening to the Chad Benson Show.
A
defiant President Rouhani calling Tehran's decision to enrich uranium up to 60% after saboteurs attacked a nuclear site an answer to your evilness. The events further muddy the ongoing talks in Vienna over Iran's nuclear deal with world powers. Israel, which hasn't commented on the attack, is suspected of carrying out the assault. Rouhani says damaged first-generation centrifuges will now be replaced with more advanced ones, capable of even faster enrichment.
Oh. Israelis are like, I always blame the Jews. You guys are always doing that. We'd never do anything like that. There it is. Come on, you guys. We did it. We would never, that would just never cross our totally did it. I could not believe that you guys would accuse us of we did it, something of this nature. There's no way that we, as a people, as a nation, would ever do, we totally did it, do anything like that, ever. They couldn't even keep it straight-faced. Who else would have done it? Well, America could have done it. Yeah, we're too busy doing other things. We are. So do I think Israel did it? Absolutely. It's the worst kept secret in the world. Do I also think that maybe the Saudis definitely knew about it could have played a role. Yeah, 100%. Well, how's that? Because aren't they mortal enemies? Let me tell you something. Somewhat mortal enemies, but the enemy of everybody in that region is Israel. And Saudi Arabia is trying to change the way that people look at them, right? They're trying to get away from fossil fuels. A lot of the investments they're doing now are green energy and tons of tech. They have a huge fund. That's what they're trying to modernize. They're trying. It's still Saudi Arabia. In saying all of that, though, they realize that what a nuclear power Iran would be like in the region. And they don't want any part of that. So if it means being pals with Israel somewhat, they'll do it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. You can check out the Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. People are like, why aren't you doing as many videos? You know what? To be honest with you, it's frustrating with social media. It's a necessary evil, but it is so frustrating. You could put hi. Hey, hope your day goes great. People are like, F you. You're like, all right, you can't win. People suck. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Don't get an anxiety reaction because, remember, it's less than 1 in a million. However, having said that, pay attention. Do you have symptoms? Headache? Do you have shortness of breath? Chest discomfort? Do you have anything that resembles a neurological syndrome? And obviously, if you have something as serious as a seizure, that's pretty clear. Just tell people to just watch out for not feeling very well.
Dr. Fauci talking about Johnson & Johnson. The pause. It's in a timeout. The U.S. government said, you are in a timeout, Johnson & Johnson. Did you listen to all those things? However, it's always with the Fauci's. However, if you have lightheadedness, freckles, teeth, eyebrows, hair, no hair. You breathe, don't breathe. Have a headache, seizure, go into a coma, die. Watch out for these symptoms. Call a hospital. Call somebody. Call me. Yeah. Should we be panicking and worrying? No. Should you always think, okay, what do I watch for? So here's something you should watch for. So he gave you the television version of pharmaceutical commercials where you watch out for everything. This is kind of what you should be watching out for if you are worried about the Johnson & Johnson.
If you got the vaccine more than 3 weeks ago and you're feeling fine, you really have an extremely low risk and don't need to be concerned. But if you got it more recently, keep an eye out for a severe headache that doesn't go away, bad stomach pain that doesn't go away, difficulty breathing, which is always a sign to let your doctor know or seek medical attention, and possibly swelling and pain in a leg.
There you go. That's from somebody who's like, hey, I'm a real doctor as well, Fauci. Oh, no. And here's some things you should really be worried about, like swelling your leg. By the way, if you get none of these shots, if you've been hermetically sealed for the last 14, 15, 16 months here and you not start to murk, and you have swelling in your leg, you should probably get that looked at. Okay? If you have a headache that's not going anywhere, and this isn't one of those normal, I took some Advil and I feel better. Like, this is one of those things you're like, man, I can't even see. And it's not normal, probably get a little, call somebody. Right? The shortness of breath, always call somebody. These kind of feel like something you should pay attention to. Just throwing it out there. Pay attention, right? Just take a look at it. Say, maybe, even if you didn't get the Johnson & Johnson, you may have gotten Moderna, you may have got Pfizer, you may have gotten nothing. Those kind of things, usually red flags for, I should probably get this looked at. Oh, my goodness. Where's common sense gone? Thank God for WebMD. If there was a WebMD but instead it was Fauci MD and you went on there, FauciMD.com, no matter what you put, the solution would always be wear a mask and hide. Never leave the house. Get 6 vaccines all at once. Don't eat indoors or outdoors or ever. But make sure you're hydrated and you eat the right nutrition. I went on Fauci MD and it's a mess. It just tells me all the horrible things. But that's kind of what WebMD is, though, right? Like you twist your ankle, you start looking at it, next thing you know, like, I think they're going to have to amputate my foot. You're like, why? Just think of cancer. I think of foot cancer. I don't think you have foot cancer, dude. I think you stepped in a pothole. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing from you. Unrest overnight. Not a shocker. Not a shocker when it comes to what's taking place in Minneapolis. Question is, what is going to happen from here? Yesterday, the officer who was the training officer, by the way, who'd been on the force for a very long time, quit. She resigned. Officer Potter resigned, saying it's the best interest, that she's going to step away. Will there be charges coming in the shooting of Dante Wright? That I don't know. I don't think anybody knows that. There's going to be investigation. The investigation is not going to be what we saw last year with what took place. So let's go back. Eric. So there's Floyd. So it's George Floyd, Derek Chauvin. Memorial Day weekend. It happens, right? See it take place. It goes viral. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, everywhere. It's on the news. It's everywhere. By the time people come back from work on that following day, it had become the story in the country. And the story where COVID had dominated across the board. It had become the story. Protest after protest. It led to everything. By Friday, they were all fired and charged. Derek Chauvin in particular. I don't think you're going to get that with this. It's too much. They're going to look into her past as a training officer. What was she like on the street? They're going to go through all of these things to determine if this was an accident. And it's going to be hard because we already know that she thought it was a taser. You thought it was a taser. Yeah, I thought it was a taser. You've admitted that you shot him. Yeah, I did shoot him because I thought it was a taser. And you hear me yelling taser, and then I say, holy blank, I shot him. And we tried to get to him and to administer, all the medical things that we could while we waited for the ambulance. We tried to, I didn't mean to do that. You're not going to get him for murder, manslaughter, absolutely a possibility. It's an awful situation. But then so is rioting. So is looting. So is all the other things. Because just remember, the George Floyd incident took place last year. That was awful. We all readily admit that. You know what else was awful? Destroying parts of the city, in particular places where black-owned businesses are. Rioting. Killing of other people in the name of George Floyd, apparently, because that was just totally cool. That is frustrating. That is not a message that's going to resonate with a lot of people. Black, white, Asian, Hispanic. People get frustrated. Do I know what's going to happen from here? No. I have a feeling, based on the mood, that there is going to be a situation where she will probably be charged with manslaughter. But you don't know. You don't. This is going to take some time. I have a feeling, unless they're just itching to get something out there, like sometimes people do. It's let's appease the mob. Let's give them what they want. Let's give them something so hopefully they calm down. I don't know if that's going to happen.
I don't believe that officers need to necessarily have weapons, every time they're making a traffic stop or engaged in situations that don't necessarily call for weapons. We know that there are many other jurisdictions, or even around the world, where that is not necessarily the case. It's not needed.
No, in Britain, you don't need it. By the way, just to let you guys know, when you get off the airplane in Britain, right, in the UK and a lot of other places, you know what you find inside of the airports? Bomb-sniffing dogs and men with large guns. Ooh. Yeah. If you don't have guns, right, anywhere in the country, and by the way, there's guns in Britain. There's people act like, oh, there's no guns in England. No, there's guns in England. And people, rifles and shotguns. People go hunting. And the police do have weapons, by the way, if need be, if it gets to that point. But you know for certain that walking up to a car, that the chances of somebody having a weapon in there that is a gun, slim to none. Can't say it doesn't happen, but the chances are very, very, very minuscule. Here in America, it's not that way. It's not. You don't know what somebody has in there. Even if it's legal, you don't know. And much like everybody else, what's the officer's first thing? The safety of the public. It's also the safety of themselves, right? Like human beings, right? We want to get home to our family. They knew when they asked Dante Wright to get out of the car that he had a warrant for his arrest. Some people say, oh, they sent it to the wrong address. He failed to show because he didn't have look, we can walk it all the way back. He was carrying a gun without a permit, and he ran from the police. Two things you shouldn't do, right? And then there was a warrant because he failed to appear. Was this an accident? Proving it wasn't is going to be really, really tough. Do I think police need guns? Yeah, I think police need guns because you're asking people to say, okay, no guns, right? We're already thinking cops are outgunned in a lot of ways in many places. Yeah, there's the militarization of police in certain aspects when you look out there, but that's not the everyday cop. And now you're maybe saying, I don't know if they really need to have a gun on every traffic stop. The solution is we got to do better at parenting. We got to do better at raising kids. And we got to do better at finding trust between everybody. And that's a tough thing. All those things are tough. Parenting thing is tough. Well, was parenting thing important? Really? Do we have to go through this? There is a lot of things that we need to do. But the mayor there saying, I don't know if they need guns. Well, then you do it, mayor, without a gun, and see how it works. Oh, maybe not. It sounds great. Like all of it sounds great. But it's how do we do it? Let's work on actually having conversations and digging deeper into the root causes of the fear, the root causes of the crime, the root causes of the frustration and anger on both sides. Let's dig down deeper and actually try to solve some things rather than trying to put a Band-Aid essentially on a bullet hole, which we know it will be a temporary fix. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. We've been listening to this song all morning. If you guys haven't heard, it's a new song from Dave Grohl and Mick Jagger. It's a pandemic rock song.
Think I put on weight. I'll have another drink, then I'll clean the kitchen sink. We'll escape from this prison walls. Open the windows and open the doors. It's easy, easy. Everything's gonna get real freaky.
Easy Sleazy. That's the name of the song. So it's all about being hemmed up inside, and it's all about anti-vaxxers and silliness. You always understand. And the funny thing is you listen to it, it's like, oh, it's kind of a cool beat. Sounds good. Mick still sounds pretty good. You can tell Dave Grohl's rocking on it. And then you hear some of the words. You're like, ugh. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Rough Greens got home last night. Where was my dog, Doodle? He met me outdoors, running around, having fun, chasing the rabbits that are outside. Let me tell you something. My dog, Doodle, is old. Thought we were going to have to put him to sleep. He's got bad hips, arthritis, joints, fatty tumors on his hips. He was cantankerous and mean, and the last thing he did was run. We started giving Canine VitaSmart from Rough Greens about a year ago. He's outside last night chasing rabbits that are in our front yard that run everywhere. It was hilarious to watch. He's never going to catch him because he's a little plump. But Canine VitaSmart, with its vitamins, minerals, omega-3s, and everything, it's changed everything. His mobility, his health is 1,000 times better. That can happen for your dog, and it can keep your dogs who are young, middle-aged, or even older, healthier than they are right now. Right now, try it for free. Get a free bag. They're going to ship it to you. You pay for shipping. That's it. Go to roughgreens.com/Chad, ruffgreens.com/Chad, roughgreens.com/Chad, or call 833-MY-DOG-77, 833-MY-DOG-77. Get your free bag of Rough Greens. Rough Greens makes any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
I usually don't get into politics. As an ordinary suburban housewife, I feel a little disrespected. I teach my children not to name call.
You are a blabbermouth!
Come on, man. Guys, can we please keep the chatter to a minimum?
Chad Benson.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? Let's take a look at what's trending on the old interwebs. First and foremost, let's start over here in Google land. Take a look at what's trended over the last 24 hours. Army of the Dead, new trailer came out. If you've not seen it, Zack Snyder, it looks awesome. Dave Bautista looks just cool. Colton Underwood, former Bachelor. Apparently he's gay. Came out. And we're moving on. Dogecoin, over 1 million searches yesterday. Tesla's billionaire Elon Musk jokes about Bitcoin's rival Dogecoin. Number one thing searched last 24 hours on Google. Of course, Johnson & Johnson and the pause in the vaccine. 6 women have gotten blood clots. One has died. One's in serious condition. Is it because of the vaccine? That's what they're going to find out. But very rare occurrence. Very rare occurrence. Move on over to Twitter. You've got Kim Potter's trending. She is the officer who shot and killed Dante Wright. She resigned yesterday. Said it was for the best for the company, the country, the world. It's look. We're going to find out more as we move on with all of this. But when you look at what's trending on Twitter, Eric Garner is trending, George Floyd trending. A lot of things that are trending, and because of what's going on in Minneapolis and the trial. People are asking questions about Jacob Blake and many other things when it comes to police and when it comes to black males in particular. And that's a question that's been around for a long time, and I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon for several reasons. We're going to touch on a lot of those things a little bit later. Project Veritas apparently pulled another one on old CNN, got them to expose themselves that they were in cahoots to destroy Trump and his presidency. So they got him. It's crazy. Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Joe Biden's become an incredibly destabilizing American president. He took a border that was pretty calm and turned it into chaos. The Mideast had been transformed on Trump's watch, where the Arabs were working with the Israelis and had Iran in a box. He's taken Iran and let him out of the box. The Russians are challenging him in the Ukraine. And now he is withdrawing forces in Afghanistan against sound military advice.
Yeah. Well, Trump wanted to bring our troops home. That wasn't bad then. I think we should. Are there places we're going to have to leave some troops? There's probably always going to be that way. I mean, we don't want a situation where, and you don't need to leave a ton. You'd be surprised what an organizational military thing can do and how it could stop things from getting out of control. But as far as like the immigration side, what's going on down there? Nah. Do I blame it all on Biden? If you want to say blame on Biden, comes from the fact that we saw him in the second debate essentially say pathway to citizenship for 11 million people. That tells me, why wouldn't you want to make the effort at that point? And that's what's happening. When it comes to the world, every leader who takes over at first is going to get a test. Every leader. Don't care who you are, they're going to get a test. And right now, Russia is pushing again in the Ukraine. That is completely evident. On top of that, China is pushing again with Taiwan. Where is that going to go? And their expansion in the sea has been pretty much the worst open kept secret ever. And then you've got Iran. So there's a lot of things going on. I don't disagree with bringing our soldiers home, but I think we have to figure out exactly how we do it in such a way that we don't destabilize a place that, like this, can spin in a heartbeat. They're just waiting for us to just leave, waiting for you to go. The minute you go, we know what's going to happen. So it'll be very interesting to see the way that this thing plays itself out. This whole issue with race, we can't have a normal conversation in this country anymore. I was talking to somebody yesterday about this, who happens to be, are you ready for this, kids? A person of color. He's like, I hate that term. He's black. Oh my God. Yeah. And he's like, it does suck. We can't have conversations about race in this country, or pretty much anything. Like, name something anymore. We can't have a conversation about it, right? It's marriage equality. Can't have a conversation. Pro-choice, pro-life. Can't have a conversation because guns. We can't. There's no conversation to be had anywhere. It's an argument, and nobody's ever really into finding out solutions. And there are solutions to some of these, and nothing's going to be perfect. I think the problem also is we put ourselves in a position where we're expecting perfection from human beings. You're just not going to get that, right? They're not God. They're human beings. They're not. Democratic cities are having issues. Republican cities have had issues. Police, inner city, issues are abound. And I was watching this morning, I was cruising in, and if you guys have never seen his uncomfortable conversations with a black man, great football player, who is really somebody who's trying, to me, to talk about really important things that goes on. So Emmanuel Achos he is a great player. Was a guy that like, this was not a person who was like, he's actually using the platform that he built to try to do some stuff. And he had several police officers. This guy who played 4 years in the NFL, and eventually, like everything else, he retired. But he's from Nigeria, right? He's a Christian. He's a guy who, he is definitely somebody who was there. And he says, I'm going to use the platform, broadcasting, all these things, to try to talk about things. And his conversations are very real and frank. All too often anymore, what do we get? We get a lot of people who yell, a lot of people who scream, and a lot of people who are more interested in the sound bites than solutions.
Decades of problems will not be solved within days of solutions.
So that is St. Louis's newly elected first black female mayor. Her name is Shara Jones. She's a Democrat. She campaigned on increasing the number of social workers in her city instead of police officers. This despite the city's alarming murder rate this year on track to be even worse than the previous 3.
Well, you need love. You need kindness. You can always use more compassion. The problem in St. Louis is the drugs, the gangs, the urban violence, the black-on-black civil war that's been going on that no one talks about.
Yeah, and that's very real, right? That is very real. We can't. That's another one of those things. It's like another taboo you can't talk about. Don't talk about black-on-black crime. Don't talk about the fact that there's lack of children in the homes, adults in the homes, in particular males in the homes, and you don't talk about that stuff because those things are things you need to talk about. Absolutely. 100%. Those are. And watching Emmanuel Acho talk about, he had several police officers on talking about a lot of these things. And it was from Petaluma, California. If you guys don't know what Petaluma is, basically find the whitest place, see Petaluma, California. It's kind of what it is. And he said, the reason I'm here, why aren't you in some of these other places? He goes, because you don't hear about a lot of these places until something happens. It's pretty much a predominantly white police force. And he has some really good questions, but he's more interested in the answers and solutions. And I love that. One of the reasons I think, a lot of podcasting and in particular long form things work is because people are trying to dig deeper into things. Here I've got X amount of time and I love doing it. I love talking about all kinds of things. And I think I give you guys a great skinny. But one of the reasons I don't do a lot of TV and things like that is because I don't want to go on there for 3 minutes and scream and yell at each other and try to make a point when that's all you're really interested in. You're not interested in any kind of real helpful solution. You're interested in, did I get a click?
This whole idea of cutting back police officers and increasing social workers is a failure. Portland, Seattle, Chicago, Los Angeles, New York City. Show me where cutting down police officers and increasing social workers is going to help reduce crime in these democratic cities. This mayor said people resort to crime because they have no hope. I don't even know what that means. You want to give them hope? Give them quality education. That's the way you break it. Give me a break.
Leo Terrell. And he's right about some of those things. He is. But it's loud. They asked, Acho asked the police officers, hey, when you hear defund police, what do you say? And all of them said, at first there was a visceral anger in a lot of, this because you've got, he goes, the 6 months prior to George Floyd, people were coming to us saying, thank you for working hard. Thank you for being out here as a first responder in the middle of COVID and all of these things. George Floyd happened, and he said, next thing you know, people are those same people who were baking you cookies are now saying that we want to take away, we want to get this, and it means different things. But they all said the same thing. We get it now. Defunding. You're not talking about taking things away. What you're talking about is maybe directing resources to certain things. Mental health is huge. Mental health is a huge thing. They said, if you think that police don't want that help, you're fooling yourself. You become a police officer, now you're a marriage counselor, right? You're a drug counselor. Oh, yeah. You're a mental health counselor. And down the line, maybe you're a police officer. And they were all like, that's great. He goes, the problem with some of these things, as these cops said, is you going to send a social worker to somebody who is standing there and has a knife? I'm like, it's so true. It's about, first of all, cleaning up an area when it comes to crime. So investment comes in. It's about school choice. And it's also about, are you ready? Home. Fathers in homes. Massive. You want to people? We want to talk about people feel hopeless. We need more fathers in homes. We need more of that. We need more of a structure in a lot of places. And ask anybody, black, white, Asian, or Hispanic, not having a father in the home, especially with males, is a tough thing. Maybe you got a great uncle. Maybe still having that is massive. Things that people don't want to talk about. All of those things lead to the fact that people feel like our school, our education sucks. Kids feel like they've got no hope. There's no structure in their life. So when you've got the bad education, no hope, no structure, or any kind of person that is going to essentially be the person inside the law, inside the house, what ends up happening? People stray. They look for quick, easy gratification. There are so many things that we should be talking about because it's not an overnight fix, by the way. This will take time. This is going to take a lot of time. But until we can talk about things without the fear of somebody saying, you're a racist, you don't understand, you're this, you're that, and automatically shut a conversation down because you're not interested in actually talking about something and finding a solution. For a lot of people out, they're interested in the things that are going on that gets likes, clicks, viewers, and separates us. And that's not good. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Breaking news. He was awful. A lot of people lost a lot of money.
Sources confirmed to ABC News Bernie Madoff died of natural causes. He had been housed at a federal prison in Butner, North Carolina, after pleading guilty to pulling off the biggest ever Ponzi scheme that defrauded customers of his brokerage out of nearly $18 billion. He had been in ill health. Defense attorneys tried unsuccessfully last year to get Madoff released. Bernie Madoff was 82.
82. Stole a ton of money. Didn't do a ton of time. And, my goodness. Died in prison. At 82, the money he stole, if you've never seen the movie, you've never read the story, that guy, that was the Ponzi scheme. He is the poster boy of why Wall Street is bad. He is the poster child, man, adult. If you're going to look at that is the guy right there. Wow. And he ruined, it just wasn't, he ruined, like, there are movie stars and TV stars. See Kevin Bacon and his wife. That have to work continuously because they lost everything because of him. It was anybody he could get to invest that had a little bit of money. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Car Shield, talk about it all the time. The need to protect yourself in the case of what if, right? Like that's why you have stuff that protects you. Car Shield's one of those. They're there to protect you in the event that something goes wrong with your car. And with us keeping our cars longer because they're lasting longer, having a little something there to give us a little peace of mind is great. Car Shield gives you 24/7 roadside assistance, a rental car for free while your car's in the shop. You choose the shop. They get them paid directly. It is that simple. Got several plans to choose from, starting as low as $99 a month. Everything from your entire coverage down to things just like the electronics in your car. You name it, they've got it. Call them today. Use code Benson. Get yourself protected. Over 1 million drivers have been helped by Car Shield. It's America's #1 auto protection company. 800-665-2157. Code Benson saves you 10%. Or carshield.com. Carshield.com. Code Benson saves you 10%. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
Hashtag me too. Hashtag immigration reforms. Hashtag help. I'm trapped in a hashtag factory and I can't get out. The Chad Benson Show.
Morgan Wallen has had the longest-running #1 album of the year, but we haven't seen or heard from him in months since he was caught on tape using the N-word and then apologizing. And now he writes on Instagram that he's still taking time to work on himself, and he won't be playing any tour dates or festivals this summer. He says the time away has been valuable, he feels like he needs a little more of it, and he will always strive to be better.
Yeah, and of course, if you guys don't remember, Morgan Wallen was the bee's knees, if you will, of country music. And late one night, said he was drunk with his friends. He dropped the N-bomb. Somebody filmed it from a balcony at like an apartment complex. Joking with his friends, he said it was stupid and blah, 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 blah. And then the weird thing happened. Everybody came out and they essentially said, we're done with this guy. We're not going to play his music anymore, all the country radio stations. But his album never went away. And it continued to stay steady. And it sold. And it continued to sell. And it continued to rock and roll. It continued to move forward. Billboard, I guess he's still up for awards. Some people aren't abandoning. Some stations have put him back on. But it goes back to, like a lot of things. Over the weekend I was watching Bill Maher, and he was talking about nowadays, as we call it, people call it the cancel culture. I think for a lot of people, it's a punishment culture. Punish people. You've done something we've deemed indefensible. We want to punish you. We want to destroy your life. And we're not interested in teaching you a lesson. We're not interested in you learning something. We're not interested in opening your mind or any of those things. The whole goal here is to make sure that you know that we've punished you. I thought that's just weird. Right? And people do say stupid things, right? It's just happened. People do stupid things. My generation, how many of you, raise your hand if you all feel a little lucky, there was no social media. I think we'd all raise our hands. We've all said something. We've all done something, whether it be awful or racist or homophobic, but maybe stupid enough that people look at us and go, that guy's a weirdo. It's sad that we live in a world now where I feel like everybody's looking for the gotcha moment. Again, what he said was awful. Nobody's denying that. But do we live in a world of, is it punishment only, or is there an opportunity at redemption? It's a weird thing, right? Because I think we live in this world now where so many people go along with stuff even though they don't agree with it, because their fear is if I don't go along with it, people are going to lump me in the same group. There's a chair at the George Floyd, Derek Chauvin trial for anybody who supports Derek Chauvin, as far as just there to support him or anything. And it's been basically empty. And people are like, well, officers won't. An officer can't show up to that in this day and age, because what's the first thing they get? Oh, you're a racist too. It's silly, isn't it? It's crazy. We got to the point now where we have like this punishment cancel culture Gestapo, always looking to tell on everybody's neighbor. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
If you got the vaccine more than 3 weeks ago and you're feeling fine, you really have an extremely low risk and don't need to be concerned. But if you got it more recently, keep an eye out for a severe headache that doesn't go away, bad stomach pain that doesn't go away, difficulty breathing, which is always a sign to let your doctor know or seek medical attention, and possibly swelling and pain in a leg.
All right. It's a doctor right there. Her name, Ann Shoeshot. Might have screwed that up. If I do, sorry, Doc. You juxtapose that versus Dr. Fauci.
Don't get an anxiety reaction, because remember, it's less than 1 in a million. However, having said that, pay attention. Do you have symptoms? Headache? Do you have shortness of breath? Chest discomfort? Do you have anything that resembles a neurological syndrome? And obviously, if you have something as serious as a seizure, that's pretty clear. Just tell people to just watch out for not feeling very well.
Okay. However, when he says however, we're twisting here. 1 in a million. It's actually less than that. It's like it's because there's 7 million Johnson & Johnson shots. So Johnson & Johnson is on pause. Like, hey guys, we're gonna pause this thing down because 6 women, premenopausal women, have had blood clots. 1 has died. 1 is in serious condition. And seems to be that the other 4 are okay. We have no idea if this is related at all to the vaccine. But the worst saying ever, out of an abundance of caution, we're going to stop this thing down. Yeah, there's a little frustration there. You know, we're trying to get through this thing as fast as possible. Everybody understands that. Nobody out there has been immune to some sort of effect, whether you've actually had it, know somebody has, know somebody has and has lost their life or lost your business, lost your job. We can go on and on and on. You hear something like this, my whole thought process, it goes back to, it's a reactionary thing. We reacted to this rather than what business, private industry, what would private industry, like what would Elon Musk or somebody like Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, and you can be cautious without putting a stop to it. Like we've already got issues with AstraZeneca. It's not even approved here. It's basically been scrapped in a lot of other places. But then you throw in the fact that people are already hesitant. People are already worried about this. And you got to ask yourself, is it safer for you to get this or without it?
1 in a million essentially developing these sorts of blood clotting problems. If you were just to compare that to the likelihood of death, and this is in the same age group, 18 to 49-year-olds, the risk of death if you develop COVID-19 is closer to 1,800 in a million. So clearly getting the vaccine, no matter how you look at it, is going to be much better overall for preventing death versus, getting COVID. Finding these safety signals is of such high priority that maybe it gives people reassurance that they're finding even 1 in a million type safety concerns.
But my thought is if every time somebody gets a vaccine, so you go give 1 million vaccines, some people have an adverse reaction, and they watch that. Some people shouldn't get the vaccine. Like my aunt and my little brothers, they can't. They have allergic reactions to things, so their doctors have said, don't. This could be far worse for you. You can go into anaphylactic shock. These are just, so this is the best that, right now. It's just be as careful as you possibly can, but understand what the risks are. And, my family's like, whatever. But if you think about how many things that could go wrong, and when you're giving out 2, 3, 400 million shots, whatever it's going to end up being, some of it's just going to be natural. But we also live in a world of CYA yourself, right? We're run by lawyers. Because we're run by lawyers, everybody CYAs. We are the best. We're the gold standard as far as getting through us when it comes to the medical side of stuff, whether it is treatments, whether it is medicine, no matter what it is. Getting that FDA stamp of approval costs a lot of money, takes a lot of time. So a lot of people are already worried about the fact that these things came on the market in essentially less than 12 months. Smart people, common sense people go, well, it's not new technology. This is just, they have older technology, even mRNA, which has been used in cancer fights and things like that nature. That's not super new technology like they invented it last January and so let's try it here. But when you've got people that are worried, for me, I would have stood back and said, let's just take a peek. Let's find out everything we can at this moment in time without saying let's pause it when we've got people already who are nervous to get it. And there's a majority of Americans who are hesitant to get this. It's mostly because it feels like it just happened too early rather than whether or not they think they're going to grow a tail.
What do you think this might mean for vaccine hesitancy?
Yeah, what I keep saying is that this should give you some confidence that the vaccines like Moderna and Pfizer, getting tens of millions of doses out there, have not had these sort of even 1 in a million sort of safety concerns. So hopefully that actually builds your confidence, at least around those two. But I'm not so naive as to think, Jake, that even with the 1 in a million with the J&J concern, that it may fuel some vaccine hesitancy. We saw that with AstraZeneca in Europe. Only 20% of people are willing to take the AstraZeneca vaccine. So there will be some vaccine hesitancy, I think, as a result of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I got more text messages in the last 24 hours about vaccines and why people aren't going to take it, and I told you so. And because people are waiting to find something like this. Could have been done, I think, in a better way. But government is reactionary where the private sector is forward-thinking. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from every one of you. We had unrest last night in Minneapolis. Officer resigned, but still Dante Wright was killed. Officer thought she was reaching for her taser, reached for her gun. This took place not far away from where Derek Chauvin and George Floyd had the horrific coming together, which cost George Floyd his life. The trial is going on. Right now, the defense is doing everything they can. It's now their turn to bat, and they're trying everything they possibly can to, of course, save their clients. That's what you do. Up next, potentially, Maurice Hall.
She stated that he could not answer any questions, and the reason is it would implicate him. She specifically said that it could implicate him as far as drug possession is concerned, and even as far as third-degree murder is concerned, because it puts him in the car and it makes it clear that he had these drugs, and it could make a connection to the death of George Floyd.
So Maurice Hall was George Floyd's one of his good friends. He has already pled the fifth, and he's going to do it again when it comes to defense, and the reason's pretty simple. If they decide that George Floyd did not die because of Derek Chauvin's knee to his neck, but did indeed died of drugs that induced a heart attack, and Maurice Hall happened to be the person in possession of said drugs, he then could be tried. So he is taking the fifth. Just like he did before. Totally understandable. Totally understandable. I think they were hoping to get something, but the defense doesn't get to cut you that check. That's what the prosecution cuts you. And they didn't try to make a deal with him. So it's very interesting to see where they're going to go. Yesterday, they had people say he died of a heart attack. They had their experts up there, and it's back and forth. You see what's going on outside in Minneapolis. You see all the things that are currently happening because of the Dante Wright shooting that took place just a few days ago, the unrest. By the way, none of these jurors are sequestered. Ooh. They're seeing what's going on out there. To think that this doesn't have an effect, you'd be fooling yourself, because they're human beings, just like police officers, just like you and me, except for the lizard people. They're human beings. I think this does. But I also think there's something that the defense is probably talking about. Saying, look, here's the deal. Even if you're convicted of, say, third-degree murder, second-degree murder, whatever, we're going to immediately ask for a retrial. And we're going to say, based on what's going on outside, based on the fact that the people that our jurors are watching what's going on outside based on another shooting, based on all of this, that their guilty plea, if this does happen, was influenced by outside sources. Because of that, he should be retried, and he should be retried somewhere else where we think he can get a fair trial. They're already working on that. This is because why? Because plan ahead. Because they know right now it looks bad. Doesn't look good. It doesn't. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Would you be fooling yourself if you were on that jury? you wouldn't think to yourself, man, even if you thought for a second, I can't find him guilty of murder, manslaughter, but at this point, what's the difference? Because I look outside and see all the things that are going on, and they could just oh, no. That's a very real reaction. It's a very real reaction from human beings who are looking and seeing violence, anger, frustration, rioting, looting, things of that nature. You would think, as a human being watching parts of your neighborhood and your city essentially in mini battle zones, that could weigh on you. That could. Raycon, best earbuds around. I'm going to go play some golf, as I tend to do. I'll probably play golf twice today. That's how much. I'm going to hit early, hit a little bit later. I love it, but I love my Raycons. I know they're going to last throughout the day. I know they'll last throughout tomorrow and through the week. If we charge them again on Friday night, go play golf all day Saturday, Sunday, as I tend to do when I'm not hanging out with the family and stuff. It's awesome. It's awesome because I don't have to worry about them falling in my ears. They fit perfect. The sound quality is incredible. It doesn't matter if I'm listening to music or audiobooks or a podcast. It's great. The wind doesn't get in, so if I have to make phone calls, people hear me. I got a huge meeting tomorrow. We're all going to be on Zoom. And the one thing I know is everybody else is going to either have wires or they're going to have stems. And you're not going to see that with me. It's going to look great. The best earbuds around. Great quality, great sound design, great look. They're called Raycons. Start well under $100. Get yours now. BuyRaycon.com/Chad. 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 Chad Benson Show.
Wanna be boys? Give me a bowl of chili with plenty of peppers.
One Mexican heartburn. Why don't you mugs grow up?
The Chad Benson Show, where independent, a la carte thinkers have a seat at the table and a voice in the dialogue.
I'll have what she's having.
This is Chad Benson.
Yeah, think I put on weight. I'll have another drink, then I'll clean the kitchen sink. We'll escape from this prison walls. Open the windows and open the doors. It's easy, easy.
Jagger's new song, Easy Sleazy. Post-pandemic theme song. Makes fun of anti-vaxxers. It's not really making fun of anti-vaxxers. I always like it's like anti-vaxxers. Like it's like phobia. But you're phobic of something. You're homophobic. You're whatever phobic people come up with. And I was just thinking, you're anti-vaccination. Some people are, they're not anti-vax. Like, to me, anti is like, it's, or a phobic is you're afraid of vaccinations, right? You're pandemic friendly, if you will. You're a plague enthusiast. Some people, it's a control thing. Some people look up and they think, I don't know if kids should get that many vaccinations. Some people, it's because they think, it's going to cause autism or delay in learning and things of that nature. And it's interesting, though, like what goes through people's mindsets when you talk about any of that stuff. And then you get the people out there who are just, they're a no. And I think part of that is because they feel like they're being told they have to.
How come a year ago, Dr. Fauci was telling us that, we have to stay 6 feet apart and we have to wear, gloves when we go to grocery store. But now 3 feet apart is okay. But we have to wear 2 masks. Okay. So Dr. Fauci, if you're listening, I don't know who you're taking money from, whether you're taking money or not. But I have zero faith in you. You have zero credibility in my mind.
Do I think that's 100% true? I don't know if it's just Dr. Fauci. I don't have faith in the CDC. I don't have faith in the World Health Organization. Do I have faith in AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson, even with the pause and stuff? Yeah, I do. I think because they're a business, and you hold businesses accountable the way that you don't hold a lot of other people accountable anymore, because we just don't, especially, when it comes to government. But no, when the CDC and a lot of these other, no, they've been awful. Wash your hands, don't wash your hands. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. They'll juxtapose their positions within 20 minutes.
I'm going to do what I believe is best for my body and my health, and that is eat healthy, get good sleep, meditate, exercise, right? I mean, it's common sense, okay? So don't tell me that I have to get a vaccine and I have to inject my arm with chemicals. Do not make me get a vaccine. Do not force me to get a vaccine. That is where we lose all of our rights.
Yeah, and there's a certain point. Now, people could argue, and in some cases when it comes to things like this, that the government has a little bit more strength here because it's about the mass, not just singularly you. We'll touch on that and a lot of other things. Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
No, I don't support any boycott of the state of Georgia. In fact, the economic growth that's been so extraordinary in the last 20 years is a big part of what's driven political progress. Georgia welcomes jobs and investment, and I don't think that moves to boycott the state are constructive.
John Ossoff there, one of the newly minted senators in Georgia, a Democrat, not thrilled by the boycotts that are happening. And like everything else, he's critical, right? Like I get that. He's on the other side, but at the same time, you've also got to stick up for your state, right? You don't like what the Republicans in state have done when it comes to voting and the voting rights, but you also have to be pro-Georgia because that's what you're supposed to do when you're a senator.
But it's also a fact that bad public policy is bad for business, that legislation that politicizes election administration and restricts access to the ballot for black voters and is driving business away from our state. And this should be a very clear signal to our Republican state legislature that they're playing with fire when they abuse their authority to try to rig the rules of election administration to gain a partisan edge. And it's why we need to repeal this restrictive voting law that they passed.
First of all, they didn't abuse their authority. There are some things in there I don't like, and you can question a few things, but it was well within their rights legally to do what they did. You don't have to like it. I don't like. To me, when I look at it and say, well, we're not going to put as many poll places in this area. Why? Do you want people not to vote? You want to make it harder? Maybe. Okay. It's a fair question to ask. Isn't it? I think it would be a fair question to ask. There's nothing wrong with asking that question if you're a Republican. And this is what I wish we would have more people stand up and say, you know what, I'm going to ask some serious questions. Why do you guys want to limit this? Right? I understand voter ID. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, oh, voter ID is totally bad and it's just bad and it's racist. No, it's not. I mean, you got to show your ID for all kinds of things. Try flying today with an ID. Good luck. Go buy some cough medicine. Good luck. I mean, it's crazy, right? I'm talking about real, like you go, oh, I need some, Benadryl with the stuff in it. They'll go all Breaking Bad on you. I mean, we were talking about producer Phil. He tried and did successfully buy a can of compressed air so he could clean his keyboard. Not before he did show a license. He'd show a license. ID, whatever it is. It's frustrating because it's just like with what's happening now with race, relations in this country, or what's happening with 99% of the issues we have are become political. And then we become antagonistic towards one another, because apparently that's nobody's learned how to actually have a conversation. And it's crazy. I mean, there's some serious questions we can ask that are real questions about these changes in some of the voter bills that have passed. There's some serious questions. Got zero problem with that. Zero problem with that. Let's ask some questions. Let's ask, did they go too far? That's fair. Texas, a few other places. They're going to purge they're going to go through and look at all the people who haven't voted in the last few elections in some of these states. And if you haven't voted, they're going to purge you. That kind of stuff, I just sit there and go, that's stupid. You're right, whether or not you want to vote. There's times when I'm thinking, I want to vote for any of these people. I'm going to vote for president. I'll vote for some of the down ballot stuff, but I can't stand any of these people. None of these people are my choices. My voice is, you guys have failed to deliver somebody that I want to vote for. All of those are your rights. That stuff is frustrating. At the same time, there's tons of hypocrisy out there when it comes to how they view certain things, right? Like the same companies that are saying, we're never going to work in a place like that because they don't let trans bathrooms aren't all the same, or because of this, that, and the other. Well, at the same time, go and work with the Chinese government. And you're like, oh. But, you can't call them out. It's a different country. Who cares what they do? That's the frustrating thing. And now you've got companies, Coca-Cola and many others, who are getting involved and saying, you know what, we need to be even more louder.
In a show of solidarity from the business community, hundreds of companies, executives, and celebrities have signed a statement running as a full 2-page ad in the New York Times and Washington Post condemning legislation that makes it harder to vote. The statement includes names like Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Starbucks, and Goldman Sachs, plus executives like Warren Buffett. Notably not on the list, Delta Airlines and Coca-Cola, who spoke out against Georgia's newly enacted law that critics say unfairly targets voters of color.
But they have been, Coca-Cola in the past has come out and said, they haven't done anything. Why is that? They're in Atlanta. Delta? Where's your hub? It's frustrating. It is. Let's find out why people are doing some of the things. Let's not pretend that some of this is an overreach. And also, by the way, people out there on the left who let's also not pretend that during this last election, there were some stuff that was a bit uncomfortable, and there were some people who arbitrarily changed some of the rules, and a lot of people decided, well, because of COVID, we can do this out of an abundance of caution. Can't have that conversation. You just can't. It's the new world of no conversations, no actual debates, no actual anything. It's just, let's fight. What do you want to fight about? Anything. Let's fight about anything. I don't feel like fighting about anything. I just like solutions. Who doesn't like solutions? Like, I'm going to go out today and I'm going to go practice golf, right? Over the last year and a half, 2 years, you hear me talk about it. I take my golf seriously. I was really good as a kid. In fact, the other day I was talking, and I said, looking back on if I'd had a chance to do a redo, as much as I love soccer, I was better at golf by far than I was at soccer. Soccer gave me a respite from all the craziness and chaos. Golf was a little bit more expensive. We didn't have a lot of money. And, there was a lot that went into it, but I was way better at golf. I mean, I competed extremely well as a child at golf. I started taking it up again seriously a few years ago, and every day I'm trying to find solutions to things that, I want to get better at. And one of the things is like, my body just isn't what I'm 50 years old. I've put my body through a lot of hell playing sports through the years, playing soccer at a high level. And you have to come to the realization, not in the best shape that I'd want to be. I'm in pretty damn good shape, but my body, there's only so much my body can do. So I've got to figure out how to work around some of those things and come up with solutions that best fit it. It's not going to be perfect. We don't do that. We're not interested in solutions. We're not. We're not interested in any kind of solution whatsoever, because the powers that be love the division, because in that division comes what? comes their power. And that's the frustrating thing. Republicans, you should be asking yourselves, why do we want to limit some of these areas? Not so much, we're not telling you you can't vote. We're just making maybe potentially a little bit harder. Why is that? Democrats, you have to ask yourself the question. Now, I'm just talking about the run-of-the-mill people that are there. Why is it you want to make everything basically ID-free in a lot of different ways and not have the checks and balances? It's a fair question, too. We won't, though, because we're too busy arguing. We can't hear our conversation through our argument. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Here's another argument, right, that we have all the time. Trans. Bills across the country are being signed about girls young boys who then identify as a girl, and they're living like that, and they're playing in girls' sports, and they're dominating in some cases. It should be a case-by-case thing. This is a young girl named Rebecca. She's 14 years old. She's trans. Right? She's 14 years old. She's trans. She wants to be normal.
I'm Rebecca. I'm 14 years old. I am a nerd. I love school. I read a lot, and I just love to laugh. I've been playing field hockey for 4 years now. You would pass the ball to Devin. I also really love the people that I'm always surrounded with and the community that I create. When we're on the field, my teammates, they just see me as me. They see me as a teammate who they're going to play with, who they're going to win with, who they're going to lose with. She's just found a normal girl that a friend.
Yeah. Seems like a normal girl. Chad's trans girl. Look, this is where we don't have to be a-holes. That person, whoever he or she is, decides that this is what they identify as, we can be that. We also can look and say, you know what, in certain instances, it's completely unfair. Dave Chappelle came out, and he's got his, his new stuff, but one of the things he's talking about LeBron James. LeBron James decided to be a woman. And he wanted to play in the WNBA. He's going to score 800 points a night, essentially. Is what he said, with some more colorful language. And I was laughing. I'm like, that's hilarious. That's true. That's true. And he's like, if we're all equal, then you wouldn't need the WNBA. Again, little things. There are dominants. In Connecticut, the two girls who went through predominantly their entire life as males and then decided that they were females and absolutely destroyed the competition where it wasn't fun. And I understand that, right? And those girls have a right, to say this competition doesn't feel fair. We can't have that conversation. It's either or. Everybody's got rights. Everybody wants, but where does your rights end and my rights begin? Depends on how woke the world is.
Rebecca wouldn't play sports if she had to play on a boys' team because she's a girl. She belongs on the girls' team. To say, oh, you belong in every way throughout the day. We see you, you're a girl, this is your life, these are your friends. Oh, but not on the athletic field. It doesn't make any sense.
I know what it's like to have my gender questions, to have to be, to prove I'm a girl. Violating and embarrassing.
For some, it is. It is. And I look at the whole transgender thing. It's like, it's so frustrating because it's another one of those, if you have any kind of reservation, hey, this 3-year-old wants to be a girl, and he's a boy now, and we think we're going to go through with it. It's totally fine. And I'm thinking that seems like a little early to make a life choice. I'm just going to throw it out there, right? Like if my son who's 10 comes to me and goes, Dad, you're all inked up. I want to get some ink too. And I'm like, it's a life choice, but or it's a choice that you feel that's comfortable with your body. That's fine. And you're really happy about it. And you've been bugging me about it. And this is what you think. And you've drawn on your stuff. Well, then let's go do it. I'd be in trouble. I would. Can't have that conversation. Like everything else, there's a conversation that we can't have. So many, we want to make everything blanket. This counts for everything. Individual basis on everything, the best that we can. Right now, Australia has the best female power lifter, and the Australian women really aren't thrilled. Why? Because competed as a man, now a woman. It's not even close. What's going on? Even inside the Australian Federation, they're like, this is not fair. And we're, it's Do we want a level playing field? Yes, I think there is a certain amount of that we look at, and it should be individually based, but we just can't do that because it's about appeasing a radical something or other. People on the far right, people on the far left. It's not about having a regular conversation. It isn't. And until we get there, I don't know what we're going to be like. Because, man, we should be having real conversations. We should be trying to find solutions to a lot of stuff. And we just won't do it, especially in an issue-oriented world where you can go online and in an instant reach X amount of people by saying something, good or bad. It's crazy. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. MyPillow. MyPillow, Chad, really? Look, I was telling the products are amazing. I'm not here to talk about the guy. I'm talking about the product. Period, case closed. So they sent me these MyPillow slippers. I thought, all right, I'll try them. Slippers? Really? My slippers? I was telling producer Anthony, it's like, imagine having the most comfortable shoe in the world, and you guys remember Ugg boots? Yeah, like those together. The best thing. I take care of my feet because my feet get me around. Did for years. Always took care of my feet when I was playing. I love these things. They are ridiculous. 60-day money-back guarantee. 1 year limited warranty. 3-tier cushion system. So you get the MyPillow patented fill, boom. Comfort memory foam, boom. Patented impact gel, boom. Made from USA soybeans, Variety of colors, slip-on or moccasin style. Limited time, 40% off. 40% off. You go to MyPillow.com, use the promo code Benson. You're going to save 40%. Check out all the other amazing things that MyPillow has. Their products are amazing. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson to save 40% on the My Slippers, or call 800-983-4975. Use that code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
Deep states? No. Deep doo-doo? Yeah. The Chad Benson Show.
Protesters in the streets for a third straight night, writes family, urging peace and telling Robin Roberts they object to Potter's explanation that the shooting happened when she inadvertently pulled her gun instead of her taser.
I cannot accept that. I lost my son. He's never coming back. This is an officer that's been on the force for 26 years. I can't accept that.
Yeah. New York Times has an article today talking about how can a veteran officer like that mistake a taser and a gun. So the taser, the X26P electric shock weapon, or the Glock 17 semi-automatic pistol, different weights. It's very interesting because most police officers I've talked to, in fact, we've got 3 or 4 that are setting up in the studio next to me, that they take me out shooting. It's really cool. It's great because they're like, hey, we provide all the ammo. We're like, all right, we're doing this. They'll you know, they were talking about it. You have your weapon on your dominant side, the weapon. So not looking up, turning and grabbing. In theory, you should have your taser on one side and your gun on the other side. Did she switch it? Did she have them both next to each other? I mean, these are things that'll be worked out, you know, in due course with the investigations, the courts, and all these things. So, but the protest overnight that turned into violence, that turned into people losing their livelihoods, and at times, as we saw throughout the George Floyd protests throughout the country, that turned into people losing their lives, this is unnecessary. It is. It's unnecessary. It doesn't help anybody at all, and it doesn't further conversations. And we need, you know, to have more conversations. And then we need to have real truth within these conversations. And everybody needs to take a look at themselves that are involved in the situation. If you're a police officer, police officers do. They take a look at themselves every day. And yes, I was listening to a police officer today on the way in. I was listening to a podcast from my church. And the officer's like, there's bad apples in every industry and everything. And police dislike those bad apples as much as everybody else does. But they also remind you they're human beings, and we forget that. as is Dante Wright. Horrible conversations, and if we can further solutions that comes out of this, then that is a good thing. Have a good day. We'll do it again tomorrow. Got you over the hump. Night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.